Welcome to the Phillip Wylie Show. Take a look behind the curtain of professional hacking and hear compelling discussions with guests from diverse backgrounds who share a common curiosity and passion for challenges and their job. And now, here's your host, offensive security professional, educator, mentor, and author, Phillip Wylie.
Hello and welcome to another episode. I'm very happy to have my good friend Andy Thompson joining me today. We knew each other or met each other from the cybersecurity community and have been friends and running to each other all the time. And Andy does a lot of speaking globally, so it's kind of interesting to see some of the place he goes and really kind of cool because one of the topics we definitely want to discuss here is Dallas Hackers Association, because the really cool thing about Dallas Hackers Association is to look at all the speaking careers that are really pretty much launched through Dallas Hackers Association. Yeah, you, Tinker, when he was doing a lot of speaking, and Uber Kitten, and just a lot of different people, Litmoose. I mean, it's just kind of amazing what it's launched. But anyway, thanks for joining and welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you, Phillip, for having me. Again, it's an honor and a privilege to be on your podcast.
Same. It's an honor to have you on the show. I really love to see what you've been doing, see how your career's progressed, and a very inspirational. A lot of the listeners to the show are trying to get started or move into different areas of cybersecurity. And one of the things I hear each time I meet people is these episodes encourage and motivate people. So I am pretty sure your story is going to do that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of it, I'm going to give credit where credit's due. I mean, a lot of this goes back to you, Phillip. I mean, I think my journey into hacking and information security really started in 2015, 2016 at Dallas Hackers Association. I kind of walked into my first meetup, fell in love with the people there, and I distinctly remember asking you, hey, how do I get into the industry? And the advice you gave was golden. I mean, let's fast forward to today, and my career it has just blown up, really. And again, credit really is to DHA, to you, and the rest of the Dallas community here.
Yeah, and it's really great to have you in the community because you've paid that forward and helped others and motivated others. Because yeah, one of the things I remember back, one of our interactions is that you were going through the GPEN. You ended up going through the GPEN, I believe.
Oh yeah. That was December of 2020. I distinctly remember that because that was the night the presidential election went down. I happened to be in Washington D.C. I rolled down the window and I could hear people screaming. It was kind of funny, but yeah, that was how I got my first pen testing certification. And I mean, don't get me wrong, the GPEN is an incredible certification, but it's not the cheapest. And I was really lucky to have a company that could sponsor me to do that. And I got to say, the things that I learned in that course, I still use on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's great. That's one of the things that, their courses are expensive, but it's kind of hard you just really can't debate the fact that they've got some of the best instructors, out there. You've got people like Tim Medine, people are actually working in the field. I mean, even John Strand used to be an instructor there. So the talent they got is pretty amazing. The people creating this content. So it's coming from people that are really subject matter experts. It's not just someone researching a subject and creating a course. It's someone that's done this for many years and has experience with what they're teaching.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. So before we get too far along, why don't you introduce yourself and kind of share with your audience your background, kind of where you came from and how you got to where you are now.
Okay. Well, hi, I'm Andy Thompson. I go by Rainmaker. That's my handle. I eat, breathe, and sleep hacking and InfoSec. Prior to getting into the industry, I was a systems administrator for like 20 years. I started actually in website design back in like 1996 when we were coding in Notepad and, just basic HTML. I then moved into being a help desk administrator, which I really think was really valuable because it allowed me to cut my teeth on technology, understand how business works. And then from there, I actually went into being a systems administrator for some interesting companies. This was one of the first movie theater chains that did the food in the theater. A company called Studio Movie Grill that's based here in Dallas, and I ran the IT for their corporate office and all their point of sales in the movie theaters, and so that was really cool. I got to see a ton of movies, so that was probably the best perk of the job. And then I went over and did this exact same thing for another small chain of bars and restaurants, um, local to the South and Southwest. This was a gastro pub, and so that's where I really learned my love of beer. So yeah, so again, I learned a lot in that. But then I spent a few years as a senior sysadmin for Fossil Watch Company. Again, really learned how big organizations, do business, and how they do security, or the lack of security, really. Um, I was lucky enough to be the admin of a PAM solution, privilege access management. And it was actually not a very good product, but my very best friend since we were 11 years old was working for CyberArk, and he's like, "Dude, you got to come over here." And at the time, I didn't really know much about anything in security, really, and that's really when I started coming to DHA meetings, learning about how to get into the industry, how to get the certifications. And over the course of 9 months, I got my Sec Plus, SSCP, and CISSP, and from there, I joined CyberArk, and that was like almost 8 years ago. And I have no intention of leaving. They're either gonna fire me, or I'm gonna leave in a body bag, one of the two. So yeah, so that's kind of what I've done professionally. But what I really love, in again, is DHA. I mean, again, from 2016, where I was just a regular Joe, me and Wirefall are the main co-organizers, and I get to be the MC every month, or at least every month I'm in town. So it's really kind of my way of giving back, in addition to mentoring. That's in the last like year and a half, 2 years, that's really become a something that I've enjoyed doing. And so I like taking Mondays. I call it Mentor Monday. And I've got several folks that I schedule calls with, and I coach them, I test them, give them homework assignments, and really kind of gear them up for the opportunity of getting their foot in the door in the industry. So, really, I mean, I get paid to do what I would be doing for free anyway. So, I think I'm living the dream personally.
Yeah, it's always nice when you get an employer that is on board with that type of stuff. Because there was a while I worked for a bank, and a few of us, like Chase Darderman, Wirefall, myself, and maybe Tinker, were interviewed for this Vox article on white hat pen testing. And all I did was mention where I worked.
Mhm.
Nothing mentioned in that was anything that we do. And so I had someone reach out to me and say, "Yeah, next time you do this, you need to make sure legal sees this. It goes past legal to make sure it's okay." And after that, I quit listing them as an employer. But I've really enjoyed working for vendors because they see the value. I mean, when I was at the bank, my manager and director loved that I spoke at conferences, but it didn't help me career wise. Then once I started working for vendors and stuff, they loved it, and I get hired to work at
Absolutely.
places based on my speaking and my, kind of my name in the industry. So, I mean, it's one of the things too, when people are looking for jobs, if you want to speak at conferences, you want to do these things, then you need to find someone that agrees with that. Not all companies do. Not all companies has the budget to send you to very many conferences if you get to go at all, because I have a lot of friends that want to go to DEF CON, and if they go, they're paying for it out of pocket.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever paid out of pocket to attend these big conferences, but there's a big difference between working a conference and attending a conference. And so I had to put do my time, doing booth duty, and really pounding the pavement before I could actually attend and benefit from going to the sessions and stuff. But now it's great. I mean. my technical title is research evangelist. I mean, literally, I'm paid to talk about the cool stuff that my team is working on. I'll admit it. I am not the smartest person. I like to say I'm the dumbest person on the smartest team in my company. And I get to see all the cool things and the vulnerabilities and the 0 days and all the stuff that they're working on. And I don't know. Did you ever watch Office Space? You know, the guy that's being interviewed. And he's like, "What exactly do you do here?" And he's
Yeah.
the one that's saying, "I talk to the engineers so the customers don't have to," or the other way around. That's basically what
Mhm.
I do. I just take all
Yeah.
the highly technical stuff and I distill it down to at least the level that I can understand it, and share
Mhm.
my passion for the topic with anybody who will listen.
Yeah, that's a valuable skill too, because that's one of the things that not everyone can do is, you take some of those super smart people trying to speak in normal terms that anyone else could understand, or even some people that are just, I don't know, may not be as that uh, smart as some of those folks, but still just can't translate. And that's a very important skill to be able to speak in terms where, your potential customers or end users can understand what you're saying.
Well, it's a good skill to have because by no means am I good at reverse engineering or really. I mean, I've done a few pen tests, but I don't consider myself very good at it. But again, I can adequately share my passion with people, and people seem to like it, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, and for the listeners too, Andy's a really good speaker and a good MC. You were a good choice to replace Tinker when you come along. Very very good at it. I mean, yeah, I was been very impressed.
Well, thank you.
So as far as your speaking background, so how did you become such a great speaker? Did you take any kind of classes or anything? Or has this all just been
It was kind of
just doing it?
organic at first. I,
Yeah.
I my very first conference that I attended was the North Texas ISSA CSC 7, I think 7 or 8. But I saw a guy by the name of Bones. Do you know Bones?
Yes. Yeah.
I
Yep.
saw him present on how he hacked a army website that was providing video training, and I was like, "Holy crap! I've done something similar to that." I think what he was doing is really cool, and so I took that as like, if he can do it and then rock the room, I want to try it. And so I forget what I talked about exactly, but that was and is my favorite conference because that's where I got started. And since then, it was really about doing more of the B-sides conferences. B-sides DFW
Mhm.
was one of my very first speaking engagements. But I think what really allowed me to get comfortable with this, again, DHA. This is the test bed where I take all my content, and it's kind of like my mini focus group. And a lot of people do this because, again, DHA is probably one of the most open, accepting, inclusive groups I've ever met. And you can talk about anything from this crazy little box called a Raspberry Pi to Commander dropping 0 days on DB2 because he had a couple too many sojus. I mean, so I really think that because DHA was so open and accepting, it allowed me to be comfortable and learn how to present. And the feedback that I got was just fantastic. And yeah,
Yeah, you did a good job. You've gotten. I mean, I can't remember you ever not being a good speaker, but you've done a great job with it as well as the emceeing.
well, I've had a couple of stinkers before. This is why I will warn people. Live demos can either make or break you, folks. This is why we make the joke about making a live sacrifice to the live demo gods. I once had a presentation that was literally nothing but live demos. I think I had like 7 of them, and 6 of them failed miserably. That was at CornCon in 2019. And yeah, I still to this day remember that is probably the worst speaking engagement I ever did. I was so embarrassed. But since then, this is why I record my demos.
Yeah, I remember when you spoke for my DEF CON group in Denton. that you had your demos recorded, which is a good thing too, because you never can't tell when you're going to get somewhere what the internet's like. If you need to connect to the internet for stuff,
Oh, yeah.
you don't
So,
know whether you.
never embed like a YouTube video, always pull it down, embed it in the presentation. The other thing, if you choose to do a live demo, I mean, totally, that's actually more respected if you can, but always have that contingency. Have that recording ready to go in case everything goes up in flames. So, at least you have a contingency.
So for someone that wanted to get started with speaking, what would you recommend?
Well, I really
How to get them
started to
started?
cut my teeth with Toastmasters. Toastmasters is an incredible group. There's local chapters all over the world where it's not about hacking or infosec, but it's really about being comfortable learning about speaking in front of a crowd. And I think that a lot of my skill set and being comfortable talking came from Toastmasters. And although I haven't done this, but I know a lot of folks are starting to do this now in the community, Wirefall, Sensei, and some of the others. I recommend the folks that I'm mentoring to do improv, go to an improv class, learn to be comfortable when you're not comfortable, fake it till you make it. But I think the combination of DHA, Toastmasters, and really learn to be able to improvise is really how to become a better speaker. Oh, and rehearsing. Oh my God. Rehearse, 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 rehearse.
Yeah, actually, I'm a Toastmasters alumni myself,
Good for
and kind
you.
of how what got me involved in Toastmasters was back in 2000, let's see, 2013 at the NASIG group, which eventually kind of went away, and then kind of out of it came our North Texas cybersecurity group. But there used to be NASIG, and Chris Botello and Michelle were the co-organizers that. They're also the co-organizers of B-Sides DFW before Isaac took over. And so one night they were announcing the call for papers for B-Sides DFW in 2013. And Chris was saying the best job of his career he got was because of his public speaking at conferences. And so like the next week I signed up for Toastmasters. And so that was a big help for me because otherwise I was terrified to speak in person.
Oh, I'm telling you, if you can be comfortable public speaking, it is a huge boon for a career because so many people in tech, or and myself included, are fairly introverted and not that comfortable being in front of a crowd. And if you can hone that skill set, it separates you from the rest of the crowd. It puts you in the spotlight in some ways. I hate the term thought leader, but if you have that capacity to share your thoughts with other people, it's again an incredible skill set, and it will pay off in spades for sure.
And since we kind of started out talking about community, could you kind of share with our listeners that may not know about Dallas Hackers Association? If you kind of explain
All right. Well,
and just
I'll do my best because it's hard to really define DHA, but Dallas Hackers Association is kind of the child group of Austin Hackers Association. By the way, Austin Hackers Association, AHA, has the best website URL ever. It's takeonme.org. But whereas we're more of the big huggy friendly hacking group, and it's black hats, white hats, law enforcement. It's kind of like neutral territory for everyone. We meet now in a Korean karaoke bar on the first Wednesday of the month. We typically go from like 7 to 9:30, 10, and we pack the house. I mean, we're constantly filling 100 to 150 folks each month, and it's awesome because people talk about what they're passionate about. Like I mentioned a few years ago, we had an older gentleman that was talking about how he was able to write this code, this programming language called Python on this Raspberry Pi. And to some people, that was like, oh, that's child play. But this is something that he was passionate about, and he ultimately got a job as a programmer from doing that. And then again, we've got folks that come in completely unprepared, go off with a stream of consciousness. We've got other folks that come in with completely polished presentations, like their doctoral thesis. Willie, by the way, just blew my mind a couple of months with his MPEG remote code exploit. That was just amazing. But Anyway, this group doesn't just do a meetup. It's almost like a miniature conference every month, because we have our main room with our fire talks or 15-minute hacking talks. But we also have a lock picking room. We have a career coaching room, hardware hacking, book swap, sticker swap, merch room. We've got a chill out room with board games. And we really try to, market it as a mini con every month. And again, it's like the one time that I get out of the house each month, and I have such a good time doing this. And again, I get to be the MC. It's kind of like herding cats, basically, because you never know what you're going to get. And I kind of play like Phil Donahue and the Sandman at the Apollo all at the same time. So keeping people in check, making sure people get to ask questions. I think my favorite thing is troll mode, though. Depending on if you're comfortable or not, people can almost heckle you if you're comfortable with it, but we respect if you're not. So there's a lot of cool things about DHA that I like. The other thing, first time speakers. We can't do DHA without speakers. And so first time speakers always get priority. And so we bump them up to the front of the list. And again, we're super, I don't even know the word. It's been a long day, but we really try to encouraging. That's the word. We're very encouraging of trying to get people comfortable, having fun, and just sharing what they're passionate about. And I'm passionate about DHA. So yeah.
Yeah, very cool. And one of the cool things too, one of the cool stories is, remember the Popular Mechanics article that they wrote? It was, and the title was, "If you wanted to be a hacker, go to Dallas, Texas."
Oh yeah.
And so we actually had someone fly in from Mexico.
Oh yeah.
They flew in from Mexico, and the person didn't have a Twitter account, started a Twitter account after that to be on InfoSec Twitter.
I'm telling you, people come from all over to attend these meetups. There's a gentleman by the name of Justin, and he comes in every stinking month, drives in 2 hours each way from, I think, Waco. We've got guys driving in from Austin, Oklahoma. And I mean, yeah, I'm repping DHA right now, but it's not just DHA in this Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. I mean, we've got DC 214, DC 940. I hear the guy that runs that's pretty cool, by the way. We've got the Dallas and Fort Worth 2600 chapters. Like you said, the North Texas cybersecurity group. I think that's AFEX's group now. And that's just like the informal stuff. I mean, you also got ISSA, ISC squared, OWASP, WOSEC, and then you've got all your like university cyber groups, UTD, let's see, UTD, UTA, my alumni, alma mater there. Then there's UNT as well. I mean, there's so many stinking organizations, and it's not just, very secular or whatnot. Everybody is like, Dallas is one happy family.
And one of the things that I have to give credit to is a lot of that interaction between the more professional groups is due to Dallas Hackers Association, because some of us that were members of Dallas Hackers Association will go to the North Texas ISSA meetings. And then when Chris Armstrong was one of the officers there, he was always getting people from DHA in the hacker community involved at the ISSA North Texas conference each year. And so he'd get people involved there. So there's a lot more commingling. People know about it. I mean, just like at the event, the Lone Star Cybersecurity Circus podcast event that myself, Barcode Podcast and Cyber Distortion Podcast hosted last week, there were a bunch of people there from the North Texas ISSA too.
Yeah.
Not just people from DHA or DC 214.
You also have Cecil Pineda's CISO CX. I mean, it was cool the last time we were there. I'm sorry, I think you had COVID at the time. But Wirefall actually had a DHA booth at this very professional conference, which was really cool, being on like the grass of the Star football facility. That was one of the cooler conferences that I got to attend recently.
Yeah, they're doing some pretty cool things. They spun off the DFW InfoSec Con that they do kind of separate from CISO XC, but 2 conferences going on, and then their networking meetups that they do once a month. I mean, they have like 100 over 100 people or so show up for those each month. So some major networking opportunities we got here.
Absolutely. I mean, I know several people that have gotten jobs. V most recently was hired by Mad Hat, so don't get me wrong. There's a lot about what you know that will get you into the industry, but in many ways, it's who you know, and that networking really will get your foot in the door in ways that the traditional job hunting won't allow you to do.
I totally agree, and it's in the past couple years has been even more difficult.
Yeah, and that's why we have that who's hiring, who's looking for work piece, a portion of DHA. And I'll tell anybody, I mean, hit me up. I don't do references, but I'll do my best to bypass a lot of that HR gatekeeping and really try to make sure that, people that are hiring are actually looking at the resumes and not again, the HR gatekeeping frustrates me because nobody with an entry level job can get a CISSP, So a lot of these job requirements I think are bogus. And to circumvent that, I'll call it job hacking.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very true. It's pretty interesting because the networking thing helps so much. I mean, because out of my once I moved into security from IT, I think I've probably only had like a couple jobs that I actually applied for that wasn't because I knew someone there. I mean, Wirefall helped me get my second pen test job
Yeah.
working with him. So that was my second pen test job through him. When I worked at the bank, I met someone at the local Dallas OWASP chapter meeting. They worked at the bank; they're hiring people, so I found that job there. And my recent job, I needed to make a job change, and I shared on LinkedIn, and then texted a couple people that I knew, and the day after I left the other job, I had two job offers.
That's incredible. That's what it's all about. And I got to say, it's
Yeah,
really weird when your hacker persona and your professional persona, those worlds collide. I've had several situations. Darren. I was in a meeting with him, and he's like,
yeah.
"Oh, it's Rainmaker." I'm like, "No, I'm Andy today. I'm Andy." Um, and then Hermit. Oh my gosh, I love Hermit. I consider Hermit my mentor in many ways.
Mhm.
He used to be a client of mine, and we would actually troll my sales rep. We've got tons of stories where because of the community, we do a lot of business and have a lot of fun together.
Very cool. So we're getting down towards the end of the show. Is there anything you'd like to share that we didn't discuss?
Um, you know, there's just so many things that I could talk about, but for the folks that are really trying to get into the industry, we've kind of touched on the community, and I'm going to double down on that. The best way to really become um, part of this, information security hacking industry is to be part of a community, and it's not about going to meetings and public speaking. It's about physically or virtually being present. There's tons of meetups. You don't have to speak, but just show up, go ahead, learn something. There's a ton of online communities. I know people are dogging on Reddit a lot, but the SSCP and CISSP subreddits I happen to be a moderator of, so go ahead and post on them. I really got to say that Twitter, or X, or whatever you want to call it, that has been a huge resource from learning about the latest hacks, the latest vulnerabilities, keeping up to date with the people in the community. That's been an incredible social network. I know a lot of people are kind of migrating away to Mastodon and some of these other things like Slack and Discord, but as long as you're okay with Elon, I gotta say, X, Twitter, whatever it's called, is an incredible platform to really learn more about the industry. So I'd encourage you to check it out.
Yeah, I agree. So many people are disenchanted with Twitter, but or X, but I've stuck with it. I've put too much time and effort into it, and it's too good of a resource. There's not a replacement yet. Well, I appreciate you joining. I'm sure that the folks are going to enjoy the episode, and for the people that want to get in touch with Andy, we'll be sharing his socials in the show notes, so you'll be able to connect with him on LinkedIn and X. So,
Yeah.
well, thanks again. I appreciate it.
Well, Thank you again, Philip. Again, I said it at the beginning, but it really is an honor and a privilege to be on your podcast, and I'm really lucky to consider you a friend. So thank you.
Yeah, likewise. I appreciate you. Thanks, everyone, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you for listening to The Phillip Wylie Show. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. In the meantime, to learn more about Phillip, go to thehackermaker.com and connect with him on LinkedIn and Twitter @Phillip Wylie. Until next time.